I'm a truck driver, and there's something that happened to me out on the road that I will never forget. That day, while I was driving down a nearly deserted highway, I spotted an elderly woman lying in the middle of the road, and just a few feet away from her, a mountain lion stood watching everything. My heart nearly stopped because I realized that any second could be too late. But before I tell you exactly what happened and what I did in that situation, I want to ask you something. When you finish watching this story, leave a comment below telling me what you thought and give it a rating from 0 to 10. And tell me what city you're watching from, because I genuinely want to get to know the people who follow my stories. If you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe to the channel to support my work. I'm counting on you. I was 57 years old when I learned that the road does not forgive hesitation. It was March, dry heat tearing at your throat, and I was coming out of Abilene headed toward Oklahoma City, hauling fertilizer. The highway was clear, the sky cloudless, everything normal, until I decided to cut through a back road near Waurika. Stupid decision. But it was that decision that put me in the right place, at the right time, to save a life I didn't even know needed saving. The clock was pushing close to 11 at night when my rig's headlights lit up something that made no sense on that abandoned stretch of road. A woman, young, sitting on the red dirt shoulder, hugging her knees, shaking. I slowed down, my heart already pounding. I climbed out of the cab with a flashlight in hand, and when I got close, I saw the state she was in. Torn clothes, hair plastered to her face with sweat and dust, eyes wide open with pure fear. She wasn't there by choice. "Ma'am, you okay? Do you need help?" She looked at me like she was seeing a ghost. It took about 5 seconds for her to respond, her voice coming out broken. "Get me out of here, please." I didn't ask any more questions. I helped her up into the cab, cranked the AC to full blast, grabbed a bottle of water, and waited. She drank slowly, her hands shaking so badly she spilled half of it on her lap. Then she started talking. Her name was Ashley, 23 years old. She worked at a diner in Duncan and had met a guy about 3 months back. His name was Ryan. Charming, polite, always with money in his pocket and promises on his lips. They started dating. 2 weeks later, he told her he had a ranch property out in the country and wanted her to see it. She agreed. It was the biggest mistake of her life. The so-called ranch was in the middle of nowhere. No neighbors, no cell signal, nothing but brush and silence. Ryan changed on the second day. The charm turned cold. The promises turned into orders. He locked her phone in a drawer, told her she didn't need to talk to anyone anymore, that now she only needed him. Ashley tried to leave. He stopped her, not with brute physical force, but with subtle threats, psychological games. That kind of control that leaves no visible marks but destroys you from the inside. 3 months. She stayed 3 months in that place, trying to understand how she had fallen into that trap, planning an escape that seemed impossible. Until that night, when Ryan left to take care of something in town. He left her locked in but forgot to latch the kitchen window properly. Ashley didn't think twice. She jumped, landed badly, hurt her knee, but she ran. She ran in the dark, not knowing which way to go, until she found that road. And then she found me. As she told the story, I felt anger rising inside me. Not explosive anger, cold anger, the kind that makes you think with dangerous clarity. I asked her where the property was. She described the route. I calculated it in my head. It was about 10 miles from where we were. Ryan could come back any minute, notice she was gone, and come looking. We needed to get out of there. I started the truck and pushed forward, driving faster than I should have on that potholed dirt road. Ashley sat in silence, staring out the window as though she still couldn't believe she had made it out. Half an hour later, I pulled into a 24-hour gas station at the edge of Waurika. I bought a prepaid phone, handed it to her, and told her to call someone from her family. She called her mom. The call lasted 2 minutes. When she hung up, she was crying. "My mom thought I left on my own. He called her last week, told her I was fine, that I'd asked him to let her know I was taking some time away. She believed him." Ryan had covered his tracks. Smart. Cowardly, but smart. I asked her if she wanted to go to the police. Ashley shook her head, desperate. "He knows people, has friends everywhere. If I report it and nothing comes of it, he'll find me again. I understood her fear. I had seen cases like this before, men who build webs of protection around their own evil. But I also knew that without a formal report, Ryan would keep walking free to do this to someone else. I convinced Ashley to at least file a police report, not in Waurika, where he had contacts, but in Oklahoma City, where I was headed to unload and where she wouldn't be recognized. We drove through the night. She slept for stretches, woke up startled, looked around, and breathed a sigh of relief when she realized she was still far from that place. In the early morning hours, we stopped for coffee at a roadside diner. That's where things got a whole lot more complicated. A man walked in, mid-40s, button-down shirt, shoes too clean for someone just passing through. He scanned the room and his eyes landed on Ashley. She froze. So did I. The guy smiled, the kind of smile that never reaches the eyes, and walked straight toward us. Ashley, what a surprise. Her voice came out thin as a thread. Danny. Danny was Ryan's cousin. She had met him once during her first week at the ranch. A polite guy who had pretended not to notice anything was wrong. Ashley told me that later. In the moment, all I knew was that he meant trouble. Ryan's worried about you. Says you took off without saying a word. Come on, I'll take you back. She's not going anywhere with you. I spoke quietly but firm. Danny sized me up like he was assessing a threat. And who exactly are you? Someone who's not going to let you lay a hand on her. The tension in the room spiked. The diner owner noticed and stepped closer to the counter, hand under the cloth where he probably kept something for just such situations. Danny must have figured it wasn't going to happen here. He shrugged, tossed a bill on the table, and walked out. But before leaving, he looked at Ashley and said, "Ryan's going to hear about this." We waited until he was gone. I paid the tab, took Ashley by the arm, and we headed back to the truck. My mind was racing. Danny was going to tip off Ryan. Ryan would start searching. We needed a better plan. I called a contact of mine in Oklahoma City, Marcus, a social worker who dealt with domestic violence victims. I laid out the situation. He told me to bring Ashley straight to a shelter that handled emergency cases. Address noted, destination set, pedal down. We pulled into Oklahoma City at 9 in the morning. I drove straight to the shelter. Marcus was already waiting at the door. He took Ashley inside, talked with her for nearly an hour, then came back out to speak with me. She's in shock. She's going to need psychological support, but she's physically okay. You did the right thing bringing her here. I'm going to start the paperwork for protective measures. I'll need a statement from you, too. I gave my statement. I told them everything Ashley had told me, everything I had witnessed. The detective who took the case didn't seem particularly moved. Said he'd investigate, but without concrete evidence, it would be hard to do much against Ryan. I was furious, but I kept my mouth shut. I knew how these things worked. I stayed in Oklahoma City for 3 days. I unloaded the fertilizer, picked up a return load, but I couldn't bring myself to leave without knowing Ashley was all right. I visited her at the shelter. She was doing better, calmer, but still scared. She thanked me about 10 times. I told her she didn't need to thank me, that any decent person would have done the same. She laughed, the sad kind. You'd be surprised how many decent people drove down that road and didn't stop. On the 4th day, I got a call. It was Marcus. He had managed to turn up something unexpected. A woman had gone to the police department in Duncan. She had been one of Ryan's victims 2 years earlier. Same story, same pattern, same manipulation. She had tried to report it back then, but the investigation stalled because she didn't have enough evidence. With Ashley's case, the investigators reopened the file, and they found 2 more victims, all with similar stories. The net was closing in. Ryan was called in to give a statement. He denied everything as expected, but the pressure was building. And then something nobody saw coming happened. Danny, the cousin, showed up at the police station, alone, asked to speak with the detective, said he had information, heavy information. For years he had watched his cousin manipulate women, control them, isolate them. He had stayed quiet because he was afraid, because Ryan was family, because he didn't want to get involved. But after the encounter at the diner, after seeing the fear on Ashley's face, something had shifted inside him. He brought text messages, recordings, even maps of locations where Ryan had taken his victims. With Danny's testimony and the evidence he presented, the investigation gained momentum. Ryan was taken into custody on a preventive arrest. The other victims, seeing that someone was finally being held accountable, found the courage to give more detailed statements. The district attorney built a solid case. The charges included unlawful imprisonment, criminal threats, coercion, a long list of crimes that were going to mean years behind bars. Ashley called me when she heard about the arrest. She was crying, but this time not from fear. It was relief. She was going to be able to rebuild her life, go back to her family, go back to being who she was before she ever met Ryan. Marcus managed to enroll her in a psychological support program, and her mother came to pick her up from the shelter. I watched the two of them embrace at the front door, both in tears, and I felt a weight lift off my chest. 6 months later, I received a letter. It was from Ashley. She had gone back to work, was in therapy, and had even started a vocational nursing program. She thanked me again, said that I had saved her life. At the end of the letter, one sentence that has stayed with me. You found me on the darkest road of my life, and you showed me there are still good people in this world. I keep that letter in the glove box of my truck. Every time I pass through Waurika, I remember that night. I remember the decision to stop, to help, to not look away. And I'm grateful I made that stupid detour that changed everything. Because in the end, the road isn't just about getting somewhere. It's about who you meet along the way, and what you do when you meet them. Today, whenever I see someone on the side of the road, I stop. Always. No matter the time, no matter the place. Because I learned that a single gesture can mean the difference between life and death, between imprisonment and freedom, between despair and hope. Ashley is doing well. Ryan is behind bars. Danny turned his life around and today works helping victims of abuse come forward and report. And I'm still out here on the road, eyes wide open, ready to make the next detour if I have to. Because that's my redemption. Stopping when it's needed, helping when it's possible, and never, ever hesitating again. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. I promise to bring you videos every single day that will make your life a little brighter. Leave a comment telling me what you thought of my story. Give it a rating from 0 to 10, and thank you so much.